Hi, and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, you have my first quarter Unhaul. Now, it's going up a little bit into second quarter, obviously, but all of the books, and I have two massive stacks just off camera here that I'm getting rid of, I culled from my collection during the first quarter. Now, the first thing that I'm going to start with are 3 books from the really big, really cheap, really good book sale that I went to last August. And a lot of these books that I got then have just been sitting there. And in fact, there's another one from that haul in one of the stacks, but I am not going to bury it because it's at the bottom of the stack. I went through all of them and just went, you know what? It's coming up on a year. Do I really want these books or do I not? Now remember, I paid $20 for 19 books. So they were all less than $1 each. Not too shabby. And I said I was going to treat it like a library. If I didn't like the book, easily unhaul it. And yes, are these going right back to the same sale? Yeah, because that's where I donate things. But anyway, first of those is College Unbound. This, I know, is a book that's, I think, still on my Goodreads TBR, and I need to take it off because there was a time in my career when I was reading a lot of education-related books, and that time has come and gone. I'm not interested in these anymore. And the other one that's a little bit buried is for the same reason. It's an education-related book. I'm just not interested in reading. The next two are 2 of the fiction books that I picked up. I'm not really sure why I grabbed these because I read the synopsis of both and went, I have no interest in reading them. We have The Half-Wives, which is a story about a man who lost a child but now has another life. He has a wife, but he also has a mistress and another child. I don't understand why I picked up this book. Next we have Maisel, and I think what happened is I didn't read this carefully. This is more of a whole life novel, and in novelized form, I don't really like it because the plot just really can't be something substantial, like the same sort of one driving problem, conflict, etc. So hence why I'm getting rid of this one. So some of the books that are in this stack are books that I've read this year and didn't really care for. I've mentioned them in wrap-ups and recent reads where I'm like, these is not staying in my collection. Some of them are duplicates, and others are just books that I am no longer interested in having in my collection. Okay, so the first of those is the Infernal Devices trilogy. These are the only Cassandra Clare books that I own. I've rated them really highly. I really enjoyed my time with them. I have just learned things about Cassandra Clare that I no longer want to support or really want to read her books anymore. I will, however, be reading, I think it's Chain of Thorns is the 3rd book in the series. And I'm going to try to get to that earlier on in the year because I know for a fact it's Cassandra Clare. It's going to be on the Goodreads Choice Awards list. I suggest checking out Reads with Rachel's 3-part Authors Behaving Badly on Cassandra Clare for the reason that I am getting rid of these out of my collection. I bought them on Thrift Books, so the money didn't go to her anyway, and I didn't pay that much money for them. Next, we have a series of duplicate books. This first one was an oops on my part. I have since discovered a blog that goes through and does spoilers and stuff for upcoming boxes. I don't know the order that these videos are going up in, but I just filmed a start to my subscription. Is this subscription worth my money? Because I subscribe to a lot. I pre-ordered this and then it was in a subscription box, and this is the original one. I'm still hoping that it's going to be an amazing book. I've heard good things about it, but the Fairy Loot version of this is so gorgeous, so I am going to be donating this one. Next, we have one that was a duplicate with, okay, so this one was, these were both in 2 different subscription boxes, and this one is really pretty, but I like the other version a little bit better. So this was, yes, this is an Owl Crate book, and the other one is this one. So I'm going to be getting rid of this version because, I mean, sprayed edges. Next, we have one that was a 3-time duplicate, and the other one was also a duplicate, but these were ones that came in my tailored book recommendations box that started the whole saga of terrible customer service, and that is The Drowned Woods. I still have a copy of it. I still have not read it yet. So right next to The Whispering Dark is The Drowned Woods, and it's got a great under the dust cover that I'm not going to take off. I think Owl Crate also did it, and then Tailored Book Recommendations sent me this normal one. The other one that came in that box was The Final Strife by Sarah El Arifi. This is the duplicate. You can't tell because the title's on this side of the slipcase, because, I mean, why would I keep this one when I have this gorgeousness? I had them off to the side for a while because I haven't read either of those books yet, but I decided, nope, there's no need to keep duplicates. So speaking of duplicates, this is a series that I love, and I have a special edition set of it that is gorgeous and super cool that I love. And I'm like, I think that set was one of the first special edition sets that I ever purchased, and I think it was Fairy Loot. And I thought, oh, I'll just keep the originals because I love this series so much. And then I realized this is not one of my favorite series. I really enjoy it, but it's not an all-time favorite series that I collect multiple versions of it, like Lord of the Rings, which is not a series, but side tangent, and that is the Arc of the Scythe trilogy. So what that means is my copy of Gleanings matches this, because Gleanings was not part of that Fairy Loot set, but I don't need 2 copies of this, so I'm gonna keep my special edition set. Next, we have a book that I realized when I was going through, what was I doing? I was doing the Goodreads Choice Awards list, and this book was on there, and I realized I ranked it really low out of the 20, and I'm like, why is this book still on my shelves? That's Hotel Magnifique. This, I believe, was also an Owl Crate book. It's got nice end papers. Yes, this is an Owl Crate book. No sprayed edges or anything. It is really cool, the printed on cover that I enjoy, but I didn't enjoy this book super a lot, which great grammar there, but it was like a 3.5-star read, even though I think I held on to this because it was one of my first subscription box books. That's no reason to hold on to a book though. The next one was the other of those duplicates where I pre-ordered it because it was on one of my lists for one of these challenges over here, and then got a gorgeous special edition, and that is Song of Silver, Flame Like Night. I do not need to hold on to this copy, although it feels super chunky in this form, not as chunky in the other form. All right, next we have that other book that I was referencing as one of the education books that I got at the really big, really cheap book sale that I don't need anymore. This was on one of my TBRs, and I was about to listen to it, but I was going to do it via audiobook. And the audiobook available is abridged. Why do you need to abridge this book? I don't know, and I don't need to keep this. Next, we have a book where I now have a special edition set of both the first and the second book, and I got this one, and I knew it was going to be sort of a tide me over until I got the second book and this special edition, and that is Legendborn. I love this book. I love this series. I just don't need this copy of it with the gorgeous special editions that I have in my other filming location. Next, we have The Infinite Sea by Rick Yancey. I've already unhauled the 3rd book in the trilogy, which I've already given it away, so I think there were some books from January that are not in this first quarter haul. But be that as it may, I held on to this one solely for wrap-up purposes. I DNF'd the series, so I'm not going to be holding on to this one. Next, we have a couple books that I read recently, I think March? Yeah, pretty sure I read these just in March, and they were books that I bought from book outlets, so fairly cheap, and I was cautiously optimistic about one of them, even though I knew it could go the way that it's going, and the other one I was super excited for but was disappointed, and one of them was a 2.5, the other was a 3. I'm not keeping those on my shelves. And we have The Last Secret You'll Ever Keep, which did help me finish off a series, and Furia, which was the disappointing one. I was super excited. I love the cover, but it just didn't do it for me. In some of my other unhaul videos, I've gotten rid of a lot of my Christian fiction. I used to have, so the library this size, I used to have that couple hundred less, around 600 books, almost entirely in Christian fiction and some nonfiction, which is over there. Yeah, I have now culled that down to a shelf, one row. So I had already been culling it down and culling it down and culling it down. And the only ones that I have are the ones that I have really fond memories of. And I'm just probably not going to ever read them again. Christian fiction is just not for me anymore. I wish that it could be. It could be so good. But so many of these authors and these publishers push things that push writing that is very preachy and stereotypical and very romance heavy. And I'm just not a romance reader. The ones that I have here are not ones that are terrible. These are actually, I think, well written, fairly solid. They've made it through, I don't know how many cullings of previous books in that genre, we'll call it, before, but I have narrowed it down to the bare minimum. These are ones that hold very fond memories for me, and I have reread so many of those a ton of times. One of them, I think, probably like 5 or 6 times. But anyway, these I have not. So I'm going to go by author here. And I'm going to start with Kristen Heitzman. And Kristen Heitzman is an author that I thought was going to be a favorite. I've enjoyed a lot of her books, and I still have 2 of her series on my shelf that I have really fond memories from. But her contemporary romantic suspense books, which is what I've realized that they are, I'm getting rid of. And I have 4 of those. I have Freefall, The Edge of Recall, A Rush of Wings, The Still of Night. I think a lot of her romantic suspense books like these are connected. They just didn't connect all that much with me. Yes, I know that was funny. No, I do not apologize. Next, we have a couple of, I guess you would call Highland romance books. I used to be really into those books. I still love that area of the world, and I'm hoping to go there sometime soon. But, and I still have a couple of them on my shelves that I absolutely adored, but these 2 did not make the cut, and they are books 1 and 2 in the series. We have Child of the Mist and Wings of Morning. And then we have a Francine Rivers novel. I already got rid of her biblical novella series, Women in the Bible, Men in the Bible, but I am still holding on to Redeeming Love and her Mark of the Lion series. I love those books so much. I don't know how I would feel about them if I reread them now, but I'm not rereading those books. I'm just keeping that for the nostalgic value. The one that I am not keeping is The Last Sin Eater. Next, we have one by an author where I am actually keeping most of the books that I have by her. This particular one I didn't like as much, so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of it, and that is Deep in the Heart of Trouble by Deanne Gist. Then we have 2 by Anne Tatlock. I thought she would be a favorite because she approaches her narratives in very interesting ways, but as I think back on it, I just don't have connections with these stories, so hence why I'm getting rid of them. We have Every Secret Thing and All the Way Home. And then next one we have is one that I didn't realize survived previous culling, because I thought I liked this author, but then when I read it a second time, I didn't really, and I thought that I hadn't liked this book either, so I'm getting rid of it. Not a Sparrow Falls by Linda Nichols. Then we have 2 other series, 2 other authors. We have, and this next one is the Western theme. It happens a lot in Christian fiction. I don't know why. I honestly don't understand that trend, but these were decent. I just didn't have a nostalgic connection to them. And that is the Crossroads of Grace series. I have books 1 and 2 in those, 10,000 Charms and Speak Through the Wind. Lastly, I have a series that I really enjoyed. I think they have held up, although I'm a little hesitant about the way that they approach colonialism, because an earlier series by this author I read 1 book of, didn't get into. They were coming out before I was reading these types of books, but they were set in India. And again, the primary characters were British. I'm not sure how well she handled that subject. This series, they are in South Africa, and the main characters are once again British. Hence why I'm getting rid of this entire series. We have book 1, Tomorrow's Treasure, book 2, Yesterday's Promise. Also, the cover style is a choice. And book 3, Today's Embrace. So there you have it. There are all of the books that I am unhauling this quarter. I am going to now pack them up, and we shall see how quickly they actually get out of my house and donated. Thanks so much for watching. I hope to see you in the next one.